this your little friend? Well, he's gonna get you.
Out of Sight is an Unreal Engine game that has been expertly ported to VR by Flat2VR Studios and is available today for PCVR and soon to be coming to MetaQuest and PSVR2. And I honestly didn't know what to expect playing Out of Sight in VR due to its mixture of first person and third person perspectives. In this game you play a girl called Sophie who is trapped in a twisted orphanage. She is being held captive by two old and sinister people who are acting as her guardians, and to help keep the children captive in the mansion they remove their eyes, and the plot, while I won't spoil it, is actually very compelling and does a great job of pulling at your heartstrings to make you want to help Sophie and the bear escape this terrible nightmare. The bear is how Sophie can see, so when Sophie holds the bear to her chest the game takes on a first person perspective, and throughout the mansion you'll find spots to place the bear that then shifts the game's perspective into a third person, and it works surprisingly well in VR and is very similar to the original Resident Evil games. The gameplay is mostly puzzle solving. These involve pressure switches, timed puzzles, finding keys, and pushing and pulling objects, and all the while you have to try and keep quiet. As puzzles go, it definitely had me stumped a few times, especially when the bear is placed on moving platforms that give you a different perspective on the environment, and the bear also has the ability to affect the environment using some magical gaze to make certain objects vaporize, making him not just something for Sophie to see with, but also as a tool for your escape, and this strengthens the feeling of you having to work together.
How did you do that?
The bear never speaks, but Sophie believes he is alive and wants to protect him. She constantly has her own little conversations to reassure herself that regardless of how scared she is, they will both get through this.
What should we do once we're out of here, Teddy? Let's think about that once we're out through the big window.
And this adds some much needed emotion to what was already quite a good game without it. The voice work of Sophie really hammers home your longing to help this poor little girl get through this terrible ordeal, and because of this it kept me wanting to play constantly. I just wanted to see her escape this constant abuse she's clearly gone through by these two evil guardians who she has to call her parents even when she doesn't want to. And while I'm doing my best not to add spoilers, the overall story itself is a tale of sorrow, anger and survival. At first glance it didn't look all that scary or serious, but Out of Sight VR is actually very good at creating a sense of fear and tension. The music is great and the graphics are just as good, but the best bit of the VR version is the sense of scale. The mansion looks absolutely massive and sometimes very overbearing in comparison to Sophie and her bear. And throughout my time with Out of Sight VR, I've had nothing but an absolute compulsion to keep going right up until the end credits. There is also some pretty cool chase scenes that reminded me of Crash Bandicoot, but obviously instead of having fun and worrying about platforms, you're powered just by a sense of fear of getting captured.
Oh no, you're not getting away this time.
The playtime unfortunately was a lot shorter than I hoped. It clocked in at just under 3 hours, and that was me getting particularly stuck in one section of the game for about 30 minutes. But it was 3 hours I did absolutely enjoy. Now on to the negatives. Out of Sight VR 100% needs its own recenter button, which is missing right now, because leaving the game to recenter via the MetaLink software or Steam VR is not what players should be doing when immersion is key to all VR experiences. Also, when you interact with objects like pushing a cart for example from a third person perspective, the game can get quite confused which direction Sophie is actually trying to move the object, and when you're in third person using the bear's perspective, it's fixed to say 140 degrees because he can't move his head, and sometimes Sophie would get stuck behind the objects and the environment, leaving me with no choice but to hit the restart button. Luckily, the save points are automatic and they're very frequent, so it wasn't a deal breaker overall. So to summarise, even with the short playtime, I really enjoyed Out of Sight VR. It's got some great puzzles, it makes great use of VR scale for immersion, and is full of tension with a couple of very welcome jump scares. I know this is a flat screen game too, but once you've played this in VR, there's simply no way I can imagine playing this in any other way. I give Out of Sight VR a buy recommendation, and I really look forward to playing it again on PSVR2 and MetaQuest in the future. Well, that's all I've got for you today. Thank you to everyone who takes the time to leave a like, and if you find this video helpful, please be sure to subscribe for more VR content in the future.